Hi everybody, I'm back today and I wanted to do another kind of how-to video and I thought for this one I would pick art journaling because I feel like there's still a lot of people who are just finding out about art journaling and they want to know more. I get a lot of comments on a daily basis. Like, I just found this medium, I'm new to this. So I know I did a video way back in my feed on all the different kinds of journals that I had. So this will be a little similar, but I'm also going to talk about the process of how to get started and the different styles in case you're looking for a style that works for you, because there's so many ways to art journal. It's so open-ended, and I think that's the really exciting thing about it. It's super accessible. So I'm going to sit down with you and kind of go through all the different kinds of art journals there are, so you get a better idea about what style could be a style that might be appealing to you. And I got a lot of different styles to show you. So let's get started. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video is that the one that I had done years ago in my feed wasn't quite as comprehensive as the one I wanted to do today. I really just talked about the different kinds of journals you can buy, the kinds that I had and how I had them organized. But I wanted to do something a little more comprehensive, especially for people who are still trying to understand what is art journaling. And so I wanted to share that with you here in this video. So basically, art journaling is simply that. It is creating art in a journal, and the journal can be any kind of book. People do art in sketchbooks. You could use a composition notebook with lines. I've seen people do art in those. I've seen people recycle old books and use those as art journals. There's also junk journaling, which is similar to art journaling. There's just so many different ways to go. It can be overwhelming. But essentially, when you get to the art journaling portion, usually you are creating some sort of art. And because you're using all kinds of products or mediums, typically it could also be called mixed media art journaling because you're combining so many different techniques. Because with art journaling, there is no rules, and that's why I love it so much. It's the best place to start if you're a beginner. And the idea of doing art in a journal is great because it takes away the pressure to create a work of art. You're just doing it in a book. No one else has to see it, and you don't have to have an end destination for this art. It's literally just for you. It's a place for you to come and practice playing with creativity in any way you like. And that is what art journaling is. So there's really no rules, but it's also the most accessible kind of art there is. However, there are different kinds of styles, and that's kind of what I wanted to share with you a little bit more in depth today, because it still might be intimidating to say, okay, I can use everything, all the supplies, all the different mediums. Where do I begin? And so I wanted to show you a cross section of all the different styles because I really have pretty much experimented with just about everything. So that you can get a better understanding of where you might like to start first. Some things might be more accessible to others, and so that's why I wanted to kind of share with you art journaling. But first, I wanted to share with you where I discovered art journaling, and it was really unexpected. My sister, who I love dearly and is also very artsy, she's an incredible artist, for my birthday gave me this book. She was working in a store that sold stuff from around the world, and they had it there, so she picked it up. She said it's amazing. I read it. I love it. You have to read this book. And this book is a kind of a book about this kid who lived in Africa in the 90s, named Dan Eldon. He was an extraordinary human being. I highly recommend picking any of the books up about Dan Eldon. They're the most inspiring books you'll ever read. But the important thing to share is that Dan Eldon was an art journaler. And it wasn't something he got into because other people were doing it. He just was a teenager. He was taking lots of pictures of his friends. He was creative, and he used them as a way to kind of chronicle his experiences in life. So he created drawings and photos, and he just collaged them into these big notebooks. And so these books there's 3 about Dan Eldon. I have all 3. But basically they're full of the imagery of all his art journals. And he became a photographer for Reuters. But he just played and had fun. He put photos that he drew, or pictures of photographs that he had taken, drawings that he drew, or little bits and bobs from where he was going, tickets, and he just combined it, and there were no rules. You know, here he doodled on a piece of mail. So, I mean, I'm getting distracted because it's so inspiring, especially his mission too. He died very tragically at a young age. But anyway, just really, really cool story, lots of inspiration. And this is kind of where I found out about art journaling. And, you know, not too long after that, I discovered a store, and I discovered magazines and books on art journaling and bookbinding, and it just kind of took off from there. But highly recommend any books about Dan Eldon. One is The Art of Life. The other one is Journey is the Destination. Safari is Way of Life. They're all really good. So I highly recommend these. You'll get lots of inspiration just looking at all the pictures and the styles of his art journaling. So I have a stack of books here and a whole bunch off camera that there's just not enough space on this little desk. So the easiest way, I would say, for anybody just starting out is to start with collage. So I happen to have a journal that is a collage journal. This journal is made by Ranger. It's a Dylusions journal. It's my favorite go-to beginner's journal. It's a mixed media journal. You can do anything in here. You can do watercolor, acrylics, markers, anything you want. It works great. The pages are thick. I can't say enough good things. So I tend to use the Dylusions journals as collage journals. The reason why I like collage for beginners, and I know this is how I felt when I started, I wasn't drawing or trying to draw at all, but I wanted to be creative. And so cutting out photographs from magazines or vintage pictures, it was just the easiest way to put something down on a page and just play with shapes and colors and create images from what you had. All you're doing is cutting and gluing. You might use a little paint. This is a little more elaborate. I do have some imagery. This is like a forest scene. But then, you know, I used stencils and stuff like that in the backs. But collage is such a great way to get started. It takes out the intimidation right away. And collage with photos is like the easiest place to look. Once you start acquiring art supplies, then you can collage with things like, I have a drawer here full of, I like to call these my focal points. So you could get stamps or stencils to create images, which I've done here, create those ahead of time. And then you can take these and then again, use those to collage. But just simply cutting and gluing is easy enough. And that is definitely a great place to start. So this is my most recent collage journal, just having fun with images, kind of riffing off of the ads that this was like an ad, I think like REI or something. And so I was just riffing off the pictures. It's just a really fun place to start. Again, just having an image, a couple of designs, you know, you can use writing in your journal if you want, because it's art journaling. There's no rules. And that's kind of what I do. Sometimes I'll just cut out some pictures and just put a really cool quote. Anything to get me started and to feel like I'm being creative is like all I'm looking for with art journaling. So collage, great place to start. You can just cut out images. You don't have to do anything else. You know, you can even cut out words. The least amount of work possible with collage. And it's super, super fun and really playful. I feel like collage is what I do when I need a break from everything and I want to get back into my inner child. So I just cut and glue. It's easy. So highly recommend collage is a great place to start. But wait, there's more. So I'm just looking. So as I grew and started playing more with drawing and that sort of thing, then I started doing more what would be definitely more mixed media. So it combines collage, it combines all kinds of all the different art mediums like paints and watercolors and glues and texture paste and all that stuff. That's mixed media art journaling, and that is a great place to start as well because you can mix everything you want. And that's pretty much what I did in my mixed media journals. So again, collage is a great place to start. Mixed media is fun too. And here I still wasn't confident in my quote unquote drawing or even my writing skills. So, you know, there's so many products on the line where there are people who create, I have some right here because I'm at my stamp desk. There's really great stamps and stencils and products out there. I know I have some in my shop, but there's so many great companies out there with great images. So you can, you know, as you start to acquire some of these, you can stamp them and color them and use those in your art journals in fun ways. This journal, I will say, is also by Ranger because I love Ranger. They have just my favorite products are from Ranger. And this is their Dina Wakley journal. And this is her mixed media journal. So it literally is cotton watercolor paper. It's denim, which is super cool. And I was fortunate enough to get this journal before they released it. And the idea was that I had to create a bunch of stuff and then send it off for the show. When they went to show it, a whole bunch of artists got together and did the same thing. Different, but we got the same journal and we had to work in it. And when I saw there was denim, it just got my mind racing. I was like, oh, well, of course it needs a pocket. And that's the other thing, you know, art journaling is so fun because you're not making a piece of art to hang on the wall. You're playing in a journal. So you really can tap into your inner child. So I had fun cutting things out, doing what's called cutouts, you know, gluing shapes. Again, there's collage in here. There's paint, there's sprays, you know, all different kinds of stuff. Media is stuff. It's just fancy for stuff. And because this journal has so many different kinds of pages, you have burlap, you have denim, you have the watercolor paper. I really went to town having fun playing with all the different stuff because there's no rules. And because there was fabric, I used some of the burlap threads. Like this was probably, I have to say, probably the funnest journal I ever worked on. I was like a kid in a candy store because it was the first time I was like, wow, you can really just you can play with so many things. So this one, oh my gosh, I forgot about this page. The idea with this page is like when you lift it, it spins. I really had fun in this journal. And again, like you can have different kinds of pages. So these are fun to use if you really want to challenge yourself and say, okay, I'm going to work on fabric today, because you can do that. I'm going to work on watercolor paper today. It was just such a joy to work in this journal. Such good memories. Just playing with all this stuff. And again, doing cutouts. This is like a fun feature. And that's the cool thing too. Art journaling will often incorporate fun features like cutouts and tip-ins and doors and windows and pop-ups. You know, it's just such a playful place. So I highly recommend art journaling. I mean, I'm biased, but I just think it's so fun for everyone. Like, why wouldn't you want to try? This page has pockets. I already remember this page was inspired by an artist that I love named Rena Sharon. She made a page like this. And so I was like, I'm going to make a page like yours. And I told her, I was like, it was so incredible. I loved it so much. This is like, I made this 3D page. I don't really know why I did that, but just so much fun. So much fun to play and have fun. I gotta speed things up. Okay, then, so we have collage, we have mixed media. There are some journals real quick. I wanted to share this one. This is another Ranger journal. It's a Dina Wakley. I think it's the craft journal because it's all craft pages. But I wanted to share this because in the other journals, there was a full page spread, or a spread and a spread. So a page, when you create on a page, that's called a spread in art journaling. And there were pages that were full. But I wanted to share this journal with you, aside from the fact that, hey, you can work on craft paper if you want. That's fun, challenge. And like there's all kinds of transparencies. A lot of this stuff, again, is going to be Dina Wakley products, because this is back when I was doing a lot with her stuff for the company. But the cool thing to consider is getting comfortable with just doing stuff on one side. So here in this journal, I really played with just using the full spread, but just doing something a little bit in a little portion of the art journal, or doing like a cluster. So like here, this is all collage assemblage. So this is watercolor pieces that I made with my stencils. I did these ahead of time, cut them out, glued them down. It's just collage. So it might not be magazines and photos, just collage. So you can do that too. But again, just kind of having fun with doing a spread just like on one side of the page. I didn't do that the whole time, but I just wanted to share that with you because not everybody thinks to do that. And I think it looks really cool, you know, how it's all kind of off to the side there. I forget where that other one was. That one's kind of off to the side. But anyway, just cool ideas to share. And then this is another Dylusions journal, but this is a journal style where you're starting to get into using paints or inks and then combining things like collage or drawing, if you want to draw, collage and writing, because it is journaling. And so art journaling can be just creating art, like in the books that I just shared with you. It's just art in there, really, for the most part. But it can also be art and journaling, art with writing, because again, there's no rules. So you can really do it however you want. And so this was kind of a fun book to set up, where I had spaces where I did a lot of art, but I also did a lot of writing and a lot of journaling. And that's kind of another transition. Some people, and you know, the Eldon books that I shared with you as well, there is a lot of photographs, collage, and writing. And I hadn't really, when I did the last video, I hadn't really been incorporating writing into my art journals. And so this is a fun way to share all the techniques that you might use in collage, mixed media, but also writing. And what a fun way, as opposed to just writing in a plain lined notebook, you can write on your art journaling. This is also great for people who want to write but don't have a lot to write about, don't have a lot of time. You know, you can just write a paragraph, you know, and you can spread it out over time. So again, another kind of concept, which is collage and writing, or mixed media and writing. Here, most of this is not even collage, it's just using stencils and doodling. So I like to doodle on images, bold images, and then just some simple collage and then writing. So it's another kind of style that I wanted to share with you. Super fun. Love this spread. This was such a fun spread. FYI, this is a total side note, but when I look at this page, you know how Bob Ross always says, happy little accidents. This was a happy little accident when I have this wave stencil that I was doing, and I used too much water and it seeped through the stencil like this. I couldn't have made it look like this if I tried. And when I pulled them up and looked at it, I was like, that is so cool. It looks like a real wave. So I was so excited that that happened. So anyway, so collage, mixed media, and writing, another way to art journal. And then I wanted to share some handmade journals with you as well, because I did start with book binding. And so I make a lot of books from scratch. I did not make this one. This one was made by an incredible book and paper artist named Liz Constable, but I wanted to share this with you too, because she is a different style in there. So I'll try and put a link to everything in the description. But making journals is something that I really love to do as well. And so years ago, once I kind of got into art journaling and mixed media, something was missing. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And I realized that I needed to write again. And I'd always kept journals, like line journals, and I was always writing, but I had taken a huge break and I wasn't writing anymore. And so I was like, you know what? I don't need to go and get a journal from the store. I can make one. And so I made a journal, which I call my Journal into Your Art Journals. It's actually a class, which I can also leave a link to, but essentially it was combining all the techniques that I have been using over the years, the mixed media, the cutouts, the collage, and writing. And that was the thing that I had been missing. And so I was able to still stick to my creativity, but do writing as well. So I started making these journals, and I have about, 10 or 12 now, because I've been using them all the time to do the collage, the mixed media, and the writing. So this is also another way to art journal. You're doing art, you're being creative, but you're also writing. And these are more like a journal size, like a pocket journal size. They're definitely a lot easier than the larger one that I shared with you. But I still, I like to make them fun and playful. So I'm still trying to keep myself inspired. And there are many days where, I only have a couple of things to write about. But it's there. It's art, it's journaling. No one has to see it. It's just for me. But at the same time, this is another great way to begin art journaling. You can have a couple of collage pieces, however you want to get them on there, or you can use stencils and stamps, and then you can do some writing as well. So I think in the future I'll do some more videos about how to create backgrounds with stencils, using things like that, because obviously a lot of the imagery that I'm sharing has paint and stuff in the background. So, you know, I have plans to do a whole bunch of more kind of how-to videos. But anyway, I just wanted to share another style of journaling, which is kind of combining art and writing. So that is another style. But I wanted to show you a handmade journal, which, again, you know, on the other side of art journaling is making the books to journal in. And there's so many artists out there that sell their own handmade journals. I actually bought this as a treat for myself around Christmas time from a New Zealand artist. Again, her name is Liz Constable. And the irony is, at Christmas, New Zealand time, it's the height of summer. So the theme of this journal was kind of an ocean theme, which I thought was kind of funny because I was in the dead of winter. And I didn't have to keep with the ocean theme by any means, but I did. And so it was really fun working in another artist's journal. You know, these are her blank pages. And then I started incorporating my art and writing and stuff like that on the pages. But you can see it's just another style of an art journal, a handmade journal like this. And some people just like making journals like this. And it almost reminds me of another style of journaling called junk journaling, which is similar to art journaling. It really kind of could go in that category. And I don't have junk journals that look like junk journals. So junk journals tend to be using things like old, like book pages, magazine. There's a lot of old sepia tones. It could be anything. Junk journaling could be pieces of mail and you fold everything, you bind it together and it's a junk journal, and then you do kind of collage art in there as well. It tends to be more assemblage, like with photos and things like that. So these are my junk journals, which I had so much fun creating. It started this fall with, oh God, I'm going to blank on the names. There was a Halloween journal challenge. I'm already blanking on the names, but I'll try to remember. And so there was like a list of prompts, and then you're supposed to, you know, just do what's called junk journaling. So when I constructed these books, I just used like all old book pages and things like that, or papers that look that way. And then I just did a lot of collage on them. So it really was just more collage, which, you know, junk journaling tends to be. You kind of make these journals from scratch, you know, with old papers and things like that. And then you just do collage on them with, often the styles tend to be with those kinds of scraps or florals or old photographs, that sort of thing. But because I'm an artist, I tend to use a lot of my art or my images and stamps. But essentially, this is pretty much junk journaling, which also doesn't really have too many rules. It's very similar to art journaling. That's why I'm kind of including it. And this was just, you know, creating fun images and gluing them down. So it's a lot of collage for the most part. But super fun. So, and it was also fun because it had a theme, which is another kind of way to get started. Like if you're journaling, you could pick a theme to get started. So this one was a Halloween theme, and that kind of helped me as I went along to kind of figure out what I was going to put on the pages, on top of the fact that there were prompts. But again, just another way to get started. Like if you're just starting out, you could pick a theme like this one. I decided I had so much fun doing it that I wanted to do a Christmas one. So I did a Christmas one too. And again, I mean, it's really just gluing stuff down on pages. I did the same thing in this one. Like I had vintage, these are all vintage papers that are created by Tim Holtz with Ideology. So you can buy these, you know, it's kind of like scrapbook papers, but they're meant to look like old mail or old wallpaper or old whatever. So I just use those. And then again, I just kind of junk journaled in these journals. So I wanted to include junk journaling with the art journaling video because it's essentially the same thing. It is more about just assemblaging, which is another term for collage. You're just assembling a bunch of collage bits together. But another way to journal, especially, again, this can be a good place for someone who's a beginner. If you're just using like a couple of things and gluing them down and getting started, you're feeling creative, you're doing creative things. You don't have to worry about doing actual art. And there's really good stamps and stencils for that. So, you know, you can add in photos. There's tons of stuff to find to add to your journals, but another fun place to start. So, lastly, I just thought I would share the different kinds of journals that we went over. I have some blank ones just to show you the different kinds of products that are out there on the market. One last kind of journal too. This is a watercolor journal, which actually one of my students gifted me at an art class, and I was so overwhelmed with like gratitude. She gave me this beautiful, it's literally my favorite color. It's a great size, and I just did watercolor art in here, and that's another way to art journal. You could just do watercolor doodles on a little watercolor journal. It has watercolor paper. So, you know, if you think you want to try watercolors, this is a great place to start as well. So again, another kind of journal, but there's all different kinds of sizes and styles out there. And you just kind of have to look. I tend to lean towards more all of the Ranger products because I just think they have so many really good products, and I know the quality is good. This is another Dina Wakley one that's just square, really thick, like you can see, really thick watercolor paper, and there's not a lot of pages, so this is good for a beginner. It's not too big, not a lot of pages. You don't feel like you know, can't finish it. This is another Dylusions one that has ledger papers, which is fun. It's not a blank page, so you can start here. So your page has some texture on it. But this could be another good journal to do some writing, some collage on. So I just wanted to show you that one. This is the Dina Wakley mixed media journal that I showed you. That was the denim, the cotton burlap. This is a really fun one. If you're feeling adventurous, I love this one because it forces you to kind of get out of the habit of using the same thing all the time, and it's really fun. So I personally, that's my favorite. And then here is a large version of the Dylusions Creative Journal, and there are so many different sizes out there for this one. This is the large one. I think it's 9 by 12. And then the other ones are more like 9 by 7, I think. I'll show you. Oh, I have so many over here. This is the small version. So same journal. And it's nice because it has this little, it has a little pocket here, and it has the little rubber band to keep it closed, which is handy as they start to get really full. So again, if you're just starting out art journaling and you just want a journal to just experiment with, I highly recommend the Dylusions ones, because they're just easy to kind of play around with just about every kind of substrate. So anyway, I hope that was helpful, but by all means, you can always DM me in the comments if you have questions about art journaling in general. I'm going to keep going with this series, this kind of how-to series, and add more of that kind of content to my channel. So look for that in the future. I think the next couple might be about using stencils, because I'm a stencil designer and I have tons of stencil ideas. You know, and then background pages. But if there's stuff you want to know about, let me know. DM me in the comments, and I'll try to include that in some of my future videos. So thanks for